All right, guys, we have done it. The Patriots have completed their 2026 draft, and the consensus on this draft is a B from all of the pundits. I know that Pats fans are not very excited with it. We drafted quite a few. I'm checking my notes, because I can't remember everybody's names. And we had 11 draft picks. We did trade up in the first round and in the second round to get the players that we wanted for those rounds. And the first one, we went offensive tackle, a left tackle, which I find interesting, an interesting choice given how much like bravado they have been putting on that Will Campbell is the left tackle of the New England Patriots, and don't you dare ask otherwise. So they did draft. They jumped up from 31 to 28 to get Caleb Lomu, who was a left tackle at Utah. So I do find that interesting. Will they end up moving not Jared Campbell, Will Campbell to right tackle and have Caleb Lomu at left tackle, or are they going to try and put Caleb Lomu in at right tackle? Right now we have Morgan Moses, but Morgan Moses is the Ancient of Days, which is funny because I think I am older than Morgan Moses. So that's so weird to call a guy in his mid 30s old, but in the tackle position, I guess that is a little bit true. So there's been a lot of questions on whether or not Morgan Moses is going to finish his career here with the Patriots. If he's even going to make it through training camp, we don't know. So that was a need that we had. But the funny thing is that all off season after we lost the Super Bowl, all we heard was we need to remake the offensive line. Like Patriots fans, so upset about offensive line play. We need to protect Drake May. We need to just rehaul our offensive line. They go out. They get a guard in Elijah Vera Tucker. They trade our center from last year, whose name just Garrett Bradbury. They traded him and they moved Jared Wilson into center, which Jared Wilson, that is his natural position, not guard. So, who do we have playing left guard now? Elijah Vera Tucker. That's right, Durr. So we have Elijah Vera Tucker playing left guard. We have Will Campbell at left tackle, and now we have this guy in Caleb Lomu, who is an athletic freak. So there's a trend that's been happening with the offensive line in the past couple of years where they are becoming highly athletic, which is exciting because we're so used to needing that like mountain of men to protect the quarterback because Tom Brady was probably one of the least mobile quarterbacks in the league, but he was also one of the most like accurate, quick passers in the league. So you didn't really need to protect him for very long, but you did need to be able to do that because he was not mobile. Whereas Drake May is an extremely mobile quarterback and he's actually more accurate when he's throwing on the run than I feel that he is in the pocket. But our offensive line is like going more in that direction. They're becoming much more athletic. And Will Campbell, Elijah Vera Tucker, Jared Wilson, and now Caleb Lomu are for athletic freaks. And that's going to be really interesting. They'll be able to push the pocket, they'll be able to protect the passer a little bit more with the type of quarterback that we have, who is a lot more mobile. So I think we just need to get out of our heads that we need a specific kind of offensive line because we don't have Tom Brady anymore. And screw Tom Brady. He's so dead to me now, which he was coming back and now he sucks and could care less about that guy. So Drake May is the guy and I love Drake May. But anyways, I digress. Don't need to be talking about let's do a Tom Brady because he's no longer, he's the Raiders' problem now. So, anyways, I am struggling over here because now my iPad doesn't want to turn upright. But we traded up to get Caleb Lomu, offensive tackle from Utah. And then we traded up in the second round to get Gabe Yakis from Illinois, edge player. He is an incredible edge defender, which is what this draft was deep in. And in the second round, you saw a run of edge defenders going. And I know I was listening to Patriots draft night, and they were getting a little bit nervous because we were down in like the bottom of the second round. And they did trade up. They got a great edge player. I think he'll make an impact this year. So that should be an interesting one to see. And then they went with their third pick. They went with Eli Raridan from Notre Dame. So we got our tight end. I find it interesting that in our first three picks, we got a tackle, an edge player, and a tight end. And so Eli Raridan is going to be an interesting one to watch. He is a big dude. I think he'll be a good red zone target, which we haven't technically had. I mean, when Hunter Henry's on, he's on. When Hunter Henry's off, he's off. So we'll see what this kid can do. He did have some injury concerns, which is why he made it to the third round, because he's actually a pretty good tight end and pretty talented. He does enjoy blocking, so he can block, but we do need a pass pro. I mean, we need people to catch passes, because what did we not do this draft? We did not draft a wide receiver. So the only offensive player that we got besides Caleb Lomu was Eli Raridan with the tight end pick from Notre Dame. And Hunter Henry also, he's 32, 33, also technically incredibly old within the NFL. So at some point, that guy's going to retire or move on if we don't want him anymore. So we do need to start getting younger. And this will be an interesting piece of the puzzle. He did say that he wants to put on 10 pounds so that he can play at 255 or 265 or something like that. He's pretty tall. He's 6'6". We did take a tight end in the third round about 20 or 16 years ago that just got slotted to go into the Patriots Pro Hall of Fame. So Rob Gronkowski came out of college very injury prone, fell quite a bit because of that, and ended up being the greatest tight end of all time. So could we repeat that? I don't know. But he does have exciting potential possibilities, and I like that we could potentially have a big red zone guy. And as we can all see from last season, Drake May likes the big, tall receivers because Drake May can throw a pretty high ball. Drake May is a giant man. He has a baby face. He looks like a little boy, but he's a man. So we need some players that kind of match that. And we need to get over these tiny slot receivers, and we need to go bigger, in my opinion, just because that seems to be what Drake May is more geared towards. And then because we traded up to get Gabe Yakis in the second round, we did not have a fourth round pick. So then we went into round 5 with Karen Prunty, cornerback. We got a true right tackle with Demetrius Crownover in round 6 from Texas A&M. And they were actually projecting him to be a top 100 pick, but he ended up falling into the 6th round at pick 196. And was Tom Brady 196 or was he 199? So, greatness can come from that pick. We'll see what happens with him. They did talk to the GM in Elliott Wolf, and he was kind of surprised that he had fallen. So I don't know what sort of red flags other teams had on him, but he could potentially also be a great pickup for us. And then we went in round 6, Namdi Obazar, who was a linebacker, or is a linebacker. And then we drafted a quarterback, Baron Morton from Texas Tech. I mean, I don't know what this guy, why we needed to draft a quarterback in this draft. I don't kind of understand it. We have Drake May, and then we have the guy Tommy DeVito. Was that his name? I can't remember. He was the guy from the Giants that everyone loved. And then he came here and they liked him so much they made him the full-time backup to Drake May and got rid of Josh Dobbs. So I want to say his name is Tommy, but I don't remember his last name. So we have that. Why do we need Baron Morton? I don't know. Will he make the team? I don't know. And then in round 7, we drafted a running back, Jam Miller from Alabama. That should be an interesting one because technically we only have like 2 running backs on our roster with Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson. And Jam Miller's apparently, he starts slow, but once he can get going, he is as fast as Travion Henderson. So we'll see if he makes the roster. And then in round 7, we also got another edge, Quintavious Hutchinson from Boston College. So another edge defender. We did not draft one wide receiver in this draft. I did want KCC, but he went to the Browns. So, and he went to the Browns like 4 picks before we traded up for Caleb Lomu. So he'll probably end up on the Patriots someday because the Browns suck. But we did go out and get 4 wide receivers in undrafted free agency, and there's some Dixon guy that they gave quite a bit of money to, and there is a lot of like chatter around him. He could be intriguing, kind of like Efton Chisholm III was. And will Efton Chisholm III pan out? I don't know. But right now we have Kayshon Boutte and Mac Hollins, Pop Douglas, Kyle Williams. We got these 4 undrafted free agent wide receivers that are probably just going to be camp bodies, except for the Dixon guy. The Philadelphia draft was very interesting in that they took like their first pick of the draft was a wide receiver. So they've been loading up on wide receivers, which would lead me to believe that AJ Brown is gone. Will he come to the Patriots? That is what everybody's saying. Until May 1st and a deal is in place, I don't know. The other potential dark horse would be the Rams, and we all saw what they did with their draft. And instead of going out and getting an offensive player that could help now, they went and got the quarterback from Alabama. And you could clearly tell that Sean McVay was ticked off and unhappy with that pick. So they had been in contention apparently for AJ Brown. Will they come back in? Will the GM from the Eagles renege on any potential like deal that he has in place with the Patriots? Very possible. I think he thinks very highly of himself. I think he's kind of like the Bill Belichick of maybe not just like in the way that Bill Belichick had a very high opinion of himself and treated other teams like he was always better. And I think that's a little bit how the Eagles GM is trying to do it. And there have been new rumors coming out that in order for a deal to get done with AJ Brown, we have to trade Christian Gonzalez to them. And I would rather just re-sign Stephon Diggs because he is still available than get AJ Brown and give up Christian Gonzalez, because AJ Brown is old, which is also wild to say because he's like 29, but he's like heading to the back half of his career. And Christian Gonzalez is what, 23, and shut down the greatest wide receiver in the Super Bowl and held him to 0 touchdowns on like 20 something yards. And Seattle would have been a lot further ahead in the score if not for Christian Gonzalez. So I say, I mean, they did pick up his 5th-year option, so year 5 he's going to be making like $18 million. But I kind of don't love that they picked up his 5th-year option. Like, just pay the man. Don't be cheap. Give him a blank check and give him money. And I understand that, like, you're also going to have to do that with Drake May. But if there is a deal to be made where we have to give up Christian Gonzalez for AJ Brown, I want no part of that, because next year the draft is so good wide receiver heavy that who cares? We could get a higher pick because we didn't make it to the Super Bowl and get a good wide receiver, or potentially trade more draft picks for a good wide receiver. We may not even have to do that. I don't know. But they better re-sign Christian Gonzalez, and we better not give him up for AJ Brown. I love AJ Brown. He's not worth it. And I actually found it interesting that AJ Brown has made no like secret of his love for the Patriots. He grew up a Patriots fan, and he was talking about how he bawled his eyes out when the Patriots took N'Keal Harry over him in the draft. When what, 2017, 2018, something like that, which Bill Belichick was a terrible drafter. The older he got, the worse he got at drafting. And the fact that you took N'Keal Harry, who didn't even finish out his rookie contract with us, and I don't even think he's in the league anymore. You took him over AJ Brown. I understand why people get nervous about the Patriots and their history of drafting wide receivers, because we have sucked at it royally. And the fact that we could have had AJ Brown, and we could have had AJ Brown with Tom Brady and then AJ Brown with Drake May, is just bananas. But if we have to give up Christian Gonzalez for that, just go back out and sign Stephon Diggs, and we'll basically have the same wide receiver room that we did last year that we went to the Super Bowl with. So it should get really interesting to see how this roster shapes up as we go through. I think rookie minicamp is next week, and then we have OTAs, and then we have vacation, and then we are in training camp, and I'm going to training camp, so I'll just keep an eye out on everything that's happening there, because you know me, just a news breaker. But it should be really interesting to see how this shapes up. I mean, this wasn't the best year for players in the draft, and we got a great edge player. We got potentially a very good tight end, and we got an offensive tackle with a lot of upside and incredibly athletic. And I like that they are building an offensive line that is fitting Drake May's skill set more than just stand there and try to keep guys from getting to him. He just needs to potentially learn to dink and dunk a little bit better instead of holding on to the ball so long. But if we get big receivers and we get guys that can get open, or we get guys that can make contested catches, we could see another good season from Drake May. And this will be his 2nd year in the same system. And Josh McDaniels has gotten to know Drake May's style of play better. So hopefully he draws up a better playbook and play calling to better fit the style of the quarterback he has, because I have a love-hate relationship with Josh McDaniels. That is widely known. If you watch any of my videos, he drives me crazy because he's either really good or he makes really terrible play calls. And I would still love to ask him why he made no adjustments in the Super Bowl. Why? Tell me why. Give me a good reason, and maybe I can forgive you for the fact that Drake May didn't start throwing touchdowns until literally 12 minutes left in the game in the 4th quarter, and we still could have come back and won. That's the stupid thing about all of this. But hey, we're that much closer to football season, and we'll just have to wait and see how this year's roster shapes up.